Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader, and we're going to look at just a few, this is not going to be a long video, but some recent sales for the vintage collection on eBay. There hasn't been much that has sold, although the Stranger from the Acolyte, it's like, who cares? But that sold for a massive price, as a lot of the new releases do sometimes. And I got some graded, I got a couple of vehicles, things like that, nothing too crazy. As always, thanks to my Patreon supporters, really appreciate the channel support, also from my YouTube channel members. It really does help out, so thanks to those of you that help support the channel. Okay, so we've got two different sales for the foil VC09 Boba Fett. They sold within like an hour of each other. This seller had two of them available in figure shield cases. And by the way, if you like to keep your vintage collection in clamshells, I don't recommend the figure shield cases. In general, they don't fit very well, and the figures can kind of slide around in there. That's been my experience. You're better off using case shells, and Case Shells is run by Tom Hogan. He is a friend of the channel, and I will put in the video description an eBay affiliate link to his eBay store where you can buy his protective clamshells in bulk. He's got really good ones that fit perfectly. He also has sledding acrylic cases as well, but don't use figure shields. In general, they don't do a very good job, in my opinion. Okay, so this one sold for $149.99, and the seller had two of them, and then this seller had one as well that looked pretty clean. It had one little issue in the upper left-hand corner, but otherwise a pretty clean example of the foil Boba Fett VC09. That one sold for $200, so $149.99 to $200. Now, this is not a vintage collection item, but I'm going to show some auctions from this seller in a second. But I thought this was a really good deal. You don't see this one pop up all that much. And it was at auction. This is the Saga Collection Bounty Hunter pack, which I've always liked. And I apologize that it's in, not, you can't really see the box that well. But this shows the ESB scene, no disintegrations. And, it's got the whole team there from the Saga Collection. And I just thought that that was a really cool item. And it sold for $38, which was a great deal. And the same seller had a bunch of very nice TVC that sold at auction, and it included some sliding acrylic cases for a few of them. So the first one was a VC17 foil General Grievous, $69. What a deal. And it did have, a little kind of indent or something by the ages 4 and up. So it wasn't perfect, but still a pretty clean example for $69. Good number. And then this one was the non-foil punched example that was probably in better condition and sold for $80. And this one has just some light edge wear on the top of the card there. So very good deals, I think, on both of those. The unpunched Jango Fett was pretty clean. Not perfect, but pretty darn good condition. And unpunched US card, that sold for $58. Typically, we're seeing $75 to $85 for Jango Fett, so I thought that was a good deal. The special action figure set for the Imperial Forces with Bosk, IG-88, and the Hoth Snowtrooper for some reason. That one sold for $71. This one was in very clean condition. Borderline steel for $71. And that one also did include a sliding acrylic case for that 3-pack. So good deal there. Ahsoka continues to be very inexpensive. I think that the better days are behind the original issue VC102 Ahsoka. This one was a pretty clean, unpunched US card and sold for $62 in an auction. Absolutely insane how cheap it's gotten. And then Jar Jar Binks in Carbonite sold for $400 on one bid. This one was also super clean with a very nice protective case that has the, the edges going, the rails going all the way around the card backs, which I really like. I wish that the grading companies would go over to this type of setup that would keep the card from warping inside the case in case there's temperature drops or fluctuations. I just think that having that rail go all the way up is really nice, and kind of keeps the card nice and straight and flat. So this was from, obviously, the SDCC box set with the Lost line. That one sold for $400 on one bid. Here was an R2-D2 Revenge of the Jedi. This was the retail release with the prototype Fett. That was a big number there, $135. So I don't know if that's just a one-off type of situation or what, but typically we've been seeing kind of $85 or so for this particular card back. But that one was nice looking, very, very clean, really good photos. It might be the power of good photos. When you have lots of high-res photos for the buyer, you're going to get a premium if it's in mint condition. So that one sold for $135. Another sale for Jocasta New, the Brian's Toys exclusive. That's a big number as well. This seller had one that sold at $250, and there's one still available, although that price of $250 is at the upper end. In auctions, you might even get under $200. So that one did sell, though, at $250. Couple of sales for the Katana Sail Barge HasLab pack-in, the Yak Face on the Power of the Force card. This one sold for $200, and then this one sold for $217.98. So that's moved up a little bit. This one did have that scratch this one is notorious for, that came out of the factory like that, and a lot of card curl on that one. Still sold for $218. And people have been asking, hey, what are the Tanaka sisters doing now that the HasLab Cantina is in collectors' hands? We've seen a lot of fluctuation in the prices for Bria and what's her name? And Seni Tanaka. So they have been going lately around $145 to $150, and that's what these two sold for. $150 for Bria, and then Seni Tanaka sold for $148. In an auction, you are probably going to get it closer to $110, $125-ish, somewhere in that ballpark. So time will tell whether these hold their value or not, but they started out really high, and then they've kind of been working their way down. They seem to have settled out around $125 to $150. Next up, here is that sale for the Stranger VC382, and pretty nice looking card, actually. And the face scan technology, I thought, on that particular figure was very nice. Boss Bounty has a review of this particular figure on his channel. Obviously, if you haven't seen it already, you can go over there and tune in. But $135, somebody paid $135 for it. And that's just what people do when you get these new releases and you have more money than sense. This will probably be $15 or less in like 2 months. But that one did sell for $135. The AT-AT, ESB AT-AT, it did have a crunch in the upper left-hand corner there that you can see. But this is the Toys R Us ESB version of the AT-AT, still factory sealed. Not perfect by any means. It still sold for $600. And that was pretty cool looking. Pretty cool. And then finally, again, it's a short video today, but I got a couple of graded sales. This is Ahsoka Tano from the Ahsoka series, VC 297. This one was graded AFA 9.0. And I actually like the card image a lot on that one as well. Really great face sculpt on this particular example. I think it really captures Rosario Dawson very well. $125 plus $11 shipping on that AFA 9.0. And then the same seller had this Obi-Wan Jedi Legend, which I really like. I think this has got this is probably one of the better figures, in my opinion. This one was graded 9.0. And I mean, look at that face sculpt. That is awesome. That is a beautiful figure. So VC 357, AFA 9.0, that one sold for $140 plus shipping. So that is all I've really got for this edition of the Vintage Collection Market Update. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.